Hello, my name is Molly Miller and I am a program manager for Tulsa Debate League. This is our public forum debate judge training video for the 2022-2023 season. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of everything, I just wanted to say thank you for volunteering to judge for us because we would not be able to run these tournaments without judges, especially as we are expanding our league, having more students participate. We need more volunteers, so we would be lost without you. So huge thank you before we get into it. So for the elementary school public forum topic, the topic is children should be allowed to use social media. So if a team is on the affirmative side, they will be arguing, yes, children should be allowed to use social media and presenting reasons why they believe that. If they are on the negative team, they will be arguing that no, children should not be allowed to use social media, and they will be giving their reasons for that proposition. These are going to be students probably from 3rd to 5th grade. So occasionally we have friends who get a little mixed up as to what their position is, since we do switch side debate. If they ask a question, please, and if they ask which side they're on, please refer to the ballot and let them know. So the elementary round structure starts with the first affirmative constructive. So this is where the affirmative team is going to present their reasons why they believe students should be allowed to use social, or children should be allowed to use social media. The first affirmative speaker is going to have 4 minutes to present that case. Then they will have a cross-examination period of 3 minutes. And this is just where each team can ask questions of the team that just spoke to clarify or to try to set up their own arguments for their speech. Following the cross-examination, we go to the first negative constructive, which is where the negative team is going to present their case for why children should not be allowed to use social media. Again, they have 4 minutes for their speech, and then there's a 3-minute cross-examination. Once the constructive cases have been, or the constructive speeches have been delivered, each team has presented their case, we move into the rebuttals. So we'll start with the second affirmative rebuttal, which is where the affirmative team will both extend their case, talk about why they are right, and they will also respond to the negative team's arguments. So they're playing both offense and defense in this speech. We have another cross-examination after the rebuttal, and then the second negative rebuttal, again, is 4 minutes. They are extending their negative case and they are answering the affirmative arguments. And then we roll into our last cross-examination of 3 minutes. And the round wraps up with 4 2-minute speeches. So first, you have the first affirmative summary, where the kids are starting to narrow down their arguments to the most important points. They're strengthening those arguments. They are weighing the arguments against the other team's arguments. They're explaining to you why they should win the round. And then we have the first negative summary, which again is 2 minutes, and the negative is expanding on their arguments, refining them down, explaining why they should win the round. The final focus speeches, we have the second affirmative speaker and the second negative speaker, each giving a speech that explains what are the most important issues in this round, what should you as a judge be voting on, and why. So those are each 2-minute speeches with no cross-ex in between them. And after the second negative focus, the round is over. teams do have 2 minutes of prep time that they can use throughout the round. If a team uses all of their prep time before the last speech, then that final speaker will have to get up and just start their speech without prep. Because part of learning to debate is learning time management. As a judge, we ask first and foremost that you give the students your full attention. A lot of these kids are working really hard, staying after school. Sometimes they are using their free time in the school day or at home to prepare. And for young kids, that's a lot. They're spending a lot of brain power and a lot of time on this, and they have worked really hard to develop their skills for the tournament. So we do ask that you silence your cell phones and you give those kids your full attention because they deserve it. They've worked really hard. We also ask that you make sure that the round stays on schedule by starting on time and keeping time for speeches, cross-examination and prep time. A lot of times our older kids they might keep their own time for speeches, but with the younger kids, they might not have their own phones or might not feel comfortable using like the timer. So we do ask that you keep time on your phone or on some kind of device for those students. You can also help us make sure the rounds stay on schedule by contacting us quickly if there is an issue. So like if a team does not show up, if you can't find the room, if the room is locked, if there's like a rules challenge or something like that. Don't wait around for someone to find you. Call Chris, his number is on the slide, or send a kid back to the holding area or find someone in a green TDL staff shirt and we will address your problem. But we can't address it if we don't know about it. So please be proactive about that, because that is the thing that causes our tournaments to run behind most frequently. Finally, you're going to be making a decision about who won the round based on which team did a better job of proving their position, not based on personal opinion. So for this topic, everyone has an opinion about it, whether or not kids should be able to use social media. And you might feel really strongly that kids should not be able to use social media in your personal life, right? But if the affirmative team constructs like a really strong case and they make really clear arguments and they're well organized, they attack the negatives case, maybe the negative just doesn't do as much work attacking the affirmative case, don't do that work for them. Make your decision based on what was said in the round and the strength of the team's argumentation. And please make sure that you provide each team with feedback after the round. A lot of these kids are really invested in debate and they really want to do their best. So constructive and helpful feedback is important. That being said, they are young kids, so try to make it something that's accessible to them as far as like things they can improve. They're probably not going to go read like a philosophy book or go watch a 2-hour documentary on something. But if you can give them tips on how to improve their volume or how to improve their posture when they're speaking, or how to state something in a more clear manner, those are the kind of feedback, that's the kind of feedback that younger kids generally thrive with. For ballots, when you arrive at the tournament, please check in at the ballot table. That will be in the holding area, which will either be the cafeteria or the auditorium. It just depends on the school site that we're at. So please make sure that you check in with a staff member. We'll have green shirts on that say staff, have the TDL logo on them, to see if you have a ballot or anything like that. If you do have a ballot, please go ahead and pick it up and head to your room in a timely manner so that we can get everything started on time. Even if it's early, if you get to the room early and you find that it's locked, then that means that we can go and check all the other doors to make sure they're unlocked for the rounds to start. If you don't have a ballot, please hang out in the holding area, because sometimes we have to reassign ballots. Like if we accidentally assigned someone to judge their own team, obviously we can't have that. We would have to reassign their ballot. Sometimes we have judges that don't show up, or maybe somebody has a family emergency and has to leave. Those kind of things happen. So we do ask that you stay in the holding area until we release folks, just to make sure that we don't have to like call everyone and track people down. It just makes things run a lot more smoothly. And after the round, make sure that you return your ballot quickly, so in a timely manner. If you want to give verbal feedback, that's fine. If you want to write feedback, we also like that. It's very helpful if you can give written feedback so that coaches can see what their kids need to improve on. It helps us kind of figure out what we need to work on in practice, and helps the kids remember what they need to work on, and have a record of that. So my advice for managing your time with that, making sure you still get your ballot in on a timely manner, is to write down feedback for speakers as they go. So write like first affirmative, and write your thoughts on their speech like after they give their speech or during the cross-examination, so that you don't have to spend 20 minutes filling your ballot out after the round. Most of the time, we're going to have a second ballot for you. So check for your second ballot at the same time that you turn in your first ballot in. When you're completing your ballot, you will cast your ballot for the winning team by writing both their team code and the side that they were debating on. So affirmative or negative on the appropriate lines. They will be labeled. It will be clear where you're supposed to write these. The team code will be on the ballot. And this just helps us make doubly sure that you are voting for the team that you intend to vote on. You will also rank speakers. So there will be 4 speakers in each round, and you will rank them 1 through 4. And you will assign speaker points to each speaker. We assign speaker points on a range of 26 to 30. So 26 would be below average speaking skills. Maybe they have a lot they need to improve on. A 30 would be near perfect speaking skills. You would hardly change anything about their speech. They did everything. The execution was ideal. So like a 28 is about average. You can use decimal points when assigning the speaker points, and you can assign the same number of speaker points to multiple students. So maybe all of the students were on the same level with each other when it came to speaking skills. You can give them all a 28. However, you have to assign them unique ranks. So you will have to make a decision somehow between those students, all of them with 28s, who is first, second, third, and fourth. So they do have to be, those are mutually exclusive rankings. If the winning team has a lower speaker average than the losing team, which could happen, say on the winning team, one speaker got a 30, the other speaker got a 26, and then on the losing team, they both got 29s. The average for the winning team would be lower than the losing team. So if that happens, check the box that says low point win. And that's just another way for us to make sure that you filled the ballot out the way you meant to fill it out. So this is an example of a good ballot. It shows our ballots look a little bit different, but the basic structure is the same. So you will always have the team code up at the top, and you will either write or the names will be printed. Usually you'll have to write what the speaker's name is, because sometimes we have to change partners around, things like that, or people drop out. And you will have the space to label who's the first speaker, who's the second speaker. This one does not have this space for the individual rankings, but our ballot will have that. They've assigned speaker points to each speaker. they have written the school or the team code for the team that they're voting for, as well as the correct side, the affirmative side, and signed that ballot. They've also given specific feedback to the speakers. It only has the top half of it, but they've given feedback to each speaker this way on the clarity of their speaking and their organization, their evidence and the strength of their evidence. Was their evidence used well? Did it appropriately make the point they were trying to make? And then the responsiveness. So the responsiveness to the other team's arguments. And that's an excellent way to give feedback, in my humble opinion. But there's basically, this creates a record of the feedback that these students got so that coaches and students can work on that in practice. So an example of a bad ballot, one that we would not want to give to kids. This judge did not even label who is speaking first, who is speaking second. They did not fill out speaker points. They did not write the school's team code. They just wrote the side. They just wrote that they gave oral feedback, which verbal feedback is fine. But we do ask that you put the most important things to paper. So write them down so that there is a record, so that an adult, a coach, a teacher can review those with students. Because a lot of times when you just give verbal feedback, the students come back to us and you say, okay, well, what feedback did you get for this round? I don't know. Or why did you lose this round? Like, what do you think happened? And they're like, I don't know, I don't remember, and there's no feedback. So it's really important to get something on paper for those kids. Just a few final notes as we wrap this up. Again, thank you so much for volunteering. We literally would not be able to do this work and serve these students without you. And it's just such an important service that you are doing for our kids in TPS and Union schools and Jake schools right now. Again, if there are any issues, please take a picture of the slide or save Chris's number to your phone so you can contact us as soon as possible. Again, you can also send a kid back to the holding area. You can find someone in a green staff shirt. Those are all great ways to get the problem resolved. We just ask that you don't just sit there and hope that someone will show up. Be proactive so that we can move forward with rounds. If there is a rules challenge, we will generally tell you to continue with the round while we figure out if a rule has been broken. This doesn't really happen a lot with the younger kids. We usually have people continue on the round so that we don't take 30 minutes considering a rule and trying to figure out if it's been broken. And then everyone's 30 minutes behind. So just be proactive, give the kids your attention. And also for the elementary kids, sometimes they need a little nudge of like, especially in the first couple of tournaments, they might be like, I don't know, what am I supposed to talk about? And, you know, feel free to let them know what speech it is, that kind of thing. I would not give them advice on what they should actually say, but you can let them know whose turn it is, like, oh, it's the second affirmative speaker's turn, or it's the first affirmative speaker's turn, just to keep things on track. Sometimes the younger kids need a little more of that verbal prompting when it's time for them to get up and give their speech. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for volunteering. And if you have any additional questions, track down a staff member at a tournament, or you can reach out to us online through the tulsadebate.org website, or you can contact Chris anytime because his phone number is on this slide. Thank you again for your help, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Oh no.